They made her, and she'll unmake them. A genetically enhanced superwoman takes devastating revenge against her former creators and captors in The Book of Phoenix. That's the novel I'm reviewing on this episode of SFF180. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me once again. Thomas here. As always, The Book of Phoenix is perhaps the angriest SFF novel to broadside the genre since Joanna Russ's The Female Man. Whereas in last year's Lagoon, Afrofuturist Nnedi Okorafor kicked up her heels and took a somewhat satirical look at the fraught political relationships between Africa and the West, The Book of Phoenix hits America's bloody history of oppression, slavery, and colonialism with all the incendiary rage it's earned. This will make some readers distinctly uncomfortable. Those are perhaps the readers who are most in need of some self-reflection. A prequel to Nnedi's World Fantasy Award-winning Who Fears Death, The Book of Phoenix is radically different in tone, hewing more towards SF motifs rather than the other book's epic mythicism and magical realism. Written in the form of an oral history in a brief but electrifying 230 pages, it's the story of an accelerated woman who's been genetically engineered in a New York lab ominously named Tower 7 by an institute everyone calls the Big Eye. Phoenix Okore, whose physical appearance is that of an average 40-year-old woman, despite being only 2 actual years old, initially has no reason to dread her existence in what is essentially a prison facility for other non-human persons like herself. But when her fellow lover and specimen, Saeed, is killed under dubious circumstances while exploring an off-limits area of the lab, Phoenix learns that all is not as it seems and engineers an escape with another fellow inmate, Mwo, who has the ability to pass through solid walls. Phoenix's breakout demolishes the entire building, save for a massive and alien tree known as the Backbone, a similarly magic tree figured in Who Fears Death. Her developing powers involve the growth of massive wings and the ability to make short teleport jumps through time and space. She can also, most fittingly considering her name, self-resurrect from actual death as a being of fiery vengeance. It's essentially a superhero origin story, except one that takes an extremely dark turn. For once Phoenix accepts that she was created solely to be a tool, a mega-weapon, she vows to turn her powers against her diabolical creators. I am villain, she declares, and she means it. Lagoon was as close to a romp as Nnedi Okorafor is ever likely to write. The Book of Phoenix, despite an even more breathless pace, is the exact opposite of a romp. Escaping at first to Ghana, Phoenix witnesses firsthand the exploitation of native people and cultures by Western colonialist powers, here represented by the Big Eye, who have always seen Africa as nothing but a fount of natural resources to be taken by force without a thought to, the care and the well-being of its peoples and its native ways of life. And she is sickened by the resignation of the people themselves, some of whom do whatever they must to placate their oppressors in order to make their own mistreatment less severe. To protect them, Phoenix agrees to return to America, but she insists upon flying, very steadfastly and symbolically refusing to return on the white man's ships. But she has made her decision. Reuniting with Mwo and some other survivors from Tower 7, she orchestrates terrorist raids against every Big Eye facility, with results that turn increasingly apocalyptic. The Big Eye, in turn, has so thoroughly dehumanized the specimen that they have created that it literally never occurs to them these beings would have the wherewithal to stage an actual revolt. Yes, there's a lot of rage in this book, but let's be honest, it's not exactly unearned, coming out at a time when most African Americans have legitimate reason to be afraid whether or not they'll actually survive a minor traffic stop. But there's also love, and there's a kind of terrible beauty. In the book's more quiet and contemplative moments, Nnedi is capable of producing some of the most breathtaking and lyrical prose in the entire fantasy genre. Phoenix's voice is so powerful in narrating her own tale that not only the anger, but the dignity and determination of an entire oppressed people comes through. Now, readers may find themselves divided over the novel's framing story, in which an African nomad named Sunatil discovers Phoenix's tale buried deep within the memory banks of a cache of long-lost computers from the old world. Now, despite serving the useful narrative purpose of tying this book and Who Fears Death together, it also raises some unnecessary and distracting technical questions, like the author's convenience that is implicit in the way that Sunatil's personal little handheld device somehow manages to be compatible and to link up with the long-dead hard drive of an ancient computer, let alone how the data could possibly have been extracted from this old brick. But these are all minor quibbles in light of the clarity of the story's warning to us all that we have to change this world. We have to change ourselves. That we have to look at one another and not see the differences that divide us, but see the shared humanity between us. Action is what's needed. Platitudes are useless. Because let's be honest, it does no good to say it takes a village when you end up having to destroy the village in order to save it. So that is all I have time for on this episode of SFF180. I want to thank you all once again for joining me. Look for more new content like this coming up on the channel. Be here every Monday for Mailbag Monday. Remember, the most important thing, these are reviews. You will not always agree with me, but if you enjoyed watching, please leave a like, share this video far and wide with your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe. That is how SFF180 grows as a channel. And until I see all of you next time, happy reading.